Hello everyone, I'm Meghan Sullivan and welcome to my video on 10 things I love and hate, okay, well, hate's a strong word, maybe just not like quite as much, about Final Fantasy XIV. Now, I just finished Stormblood and I thought this was a good time to reflect on my journey and how it's going so far. And with that, let's start with 5 things I love about Final Fantasy XIV. Number 1, the awesome community. You guys. I'm a total noob when it comes to MMOs, so my biggest fear playing an MMO was having to deal with hostile strangers, which is why I'm so appreciative of the Final Fantasy XIV community. Even though we've never met, when the game pairs me up with other players, you guys are always super helpful and positive. Sure, there's occasionally a bad egg that pops up every blue moon, but they're the exception to the rule. And if you're super shy like me, you don't have to interact with people at all. But I found that once I came out of my shell and offered a hello and a smiley face, I'd immediately get a similar positive response. And even when you're not in a dungeon, I noticed people will jump in to help you if you're struggling with a monster in the overworld or are just happy to participate in a flash dance in one of the major cities. There's palatable joy in this community, and it's a big reason why I keep playing Final Fantasy XIV. Number 2 is of course the gameplay. Almost everything about the gameplay is quality, from technical things like a responsive camera, an incredibly customizable UI, and quick load times, to a wonderfully deep and diverse class system that allows you to change up your playstyle however and whenever you want. You can also do an array of non-combative activities that are entertaining, like crafting, playing casino games, fishing, as well as buying a house and just filling it with stuff. And if you ever find yourself lacking resources to craft items, you can hire retainers to gather materials for you, which is a nice bonus. Number 3, the world of Eorzea. It's big, it's beautiful, and it's diverse. Each land acts as its own zone with unique enemies, characters, and dungeons, and I appreciate the game has a set of realistic weather patterns alongside a day and night cycle. Even better, I like that I have different travel options, whether that's fast travel, flying over an area with a mount, or taking an airship to get from point A to point B. Nice. Number 4, the music. It's just really brilliant. I don't have anything to add to that, just go listen to the theme for Ishgard right now. It's so good. And finally, number 5, I love the story. It's by far one of the most mature and intriguing stories in Final Fantasy history, and the developer is just so good at getting you to care about the people you meet on your epic journey. Seriously, I've lost track of how many times I laughed or cried as the story of good versus evil and the gray area that exists between the two unfolds. Good job, Yoshi P and team. So, obviously I love this game, but that doesn't make it flawless. So let's talk about the things I don't like so far. Number 1 is the learning curve. Can we be honest for a second? This game is easy to learn, but super hard to master. And that's because Final Fantasy XIV dumps a lot of info in your lap from the beginning. Yes, there are tutorials and places where you can train, and the game has its own online tutorial page, but there's just so much to learn that it can be overwhelming. Even reading guides or watching YouTube videos about how to master a job can still feel like I'm following IKEA instructions. It's enough so you get an idea of what you're supposed to do, but sometimes vague enough so you're not 100% confident you're doing it right. I guess that's what free companies and real-life friends are for, right? But I still wish it were a bit more clear. Number 2, wind, ether, current things. What is this? I know the game doesn't want me to just take off flying around a new area, but I hate this feature. It's annoying and pointless. There had to be a better way to earn your wings in a zone. It's such a pain getting to these things. This isn't fun, this is frustrating and a waste of time. Number 3, impatient tanks. Dear tanks, if you see someone with a sprout over their head or they tell you this is their first time running a dungeon, slow down, especially if your healer can't keep up. Now, to be fair, DPS characters, we've got to stop charging ahead ourselves. I'm new to MMOs, so I made this rookie mistake for a long time, and I apologize to every tank for that. But if you know MMOs, you have to trust the tank to do their job. Oh, and this is for everyone. Stop jumping ahead if someone is watching a cutscene. They have every right to enjoy the story. Please and thank you. Number 3, pacing. As much as I love Final Fantasy XIV's story, the pacing is painful at times, particularly in A Realm Reborn and Stormblood. I don't know why I have to do 30,000 fetch quests before I take on a primal or a high-ranking Imperial soldier. It doesn't really move the needle in terms of plot, and this pointless meandering makes the content feel unnecessarily bloated. For example, once I had to go diving for grass underwater to prove myself to a character. What did that have to do with anything? Number 4, tombstones. Tombstones are a reward for doing big raids with other players, but it drives me nuts that you can't access some of the most awesome armor and weapons they're exchanged for until the end game content. Come on. Number 5, queue times. Final Fantasy XIV, I think, bases its estimation of how long you'll be waiting to get into a dungeon based on an average wait time, but it's almost never accurate. If it tells you you'll be waiting 5 minutes, you'll be waiting for 20, and if it tells you you'll be waiting for 20, don't go anywhere, because chances are you'll hear bing just as you're a bit too far away from your PC or console to confirm you're ready to rock a dungeon. I really don't like being accused of abandoning duty when I stepped away to get a glass of water, Square Enix. Have mercy. Luckily, there are a couple of ways to get around this, like inviting people to your party or choosing to be a healer for a dungeon instead of a damage per second character, but you know what I mean. And finally, this doesn't really count as a complaint, but I'm just throwing it out there. I wish you could date certain NPCs in this game. I know it would probably be a logistical nightmare, and it's not at all necessary for a game like this, but if you have cutscenes that wall you off from other people and everyone gets a date with Sir Emmerich as part of a quest anyway, why not have a few more side quests that keep the flirtation up? As long as the other character is a consenting adult, it might be a fun addition, since not everyone wants to marry another player. Although I think it's super cute that you can. And that's it for this video on Final Fantasy XIV. What do you love about the game? What drives you crazy about it? Leave a comment in the comment section below, and for all things Final Fantasy XIV, like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later.